Welcome to Talk Emma Learn English. Here, we learn English by talking, listening, and practicing together.
Before we start today's topic, Jack, how was your weekend?
Productive. I cleaned my apartment, went for a long walk, and tried cooking something new.
Oh, really? What did you cook?
Let's just say if I had followed the recipe properly, it would taste better.
Oh, that sentence. That's today's topic.
Exactly.
You see what he just did? If I had followed the recipe properly, it would taste better. That is exactly what we're learning today.
Yes, that beautiful structure. Had plus past participle, would plus base form.
Now, don't panic. I know it looks complicated.
It sounds like grammar explosion.
But today, we'll break it into small, simple pieces. And by the end of this episode, you'll feel confident using it naturally. So if you're B1 or B2 level, this lesson is perfect for you. And before we move forward,
If you want to improve your English fluency step by step, don't forget to like this episode and subscribe.
because grammar is easier when you practice regularly.
Exactly. Now let's start slowly. This structure is used when we talk about unreal past situations, things that did not happen, and the imaginary result.
For example, if I had studied, I would have passed. That means I did not study, I did not pass. Now I am imagining a different past.
So it's like regret?
Often, yes, but not always regret. Sometimes reflection, sometimes imagination, sometimes analysis. Let's break it down. First part, if plus had plus past participle. That's called the past perfect. Examples, if I had gone, if she had studied, if they had arrived, if we had left earlier.
Second part, would plus base form. For third conditional, it's usually would have plus past participle. But in mixed conditionals, we use would plus base form.
Okay, slow down. That's important.
Yes, today we're focusing on both third conditional and mixed conditional.
Let's start with third conditional. Structure, if plus had plus past participle, would have plus past participle. Example, if I had left earlier, I would have caught the bus. Reality, I didn't leave earlier, I didn't catch the bus.
So both parts are past.
Exactly. Past cause, past result. Now, let's imagine real-life situations. Situation 1. You didn't prepare for your presentation. You say, if I had prepared better, I would have felt more confident.
That sounds very natural.
Yes. Situation 2. You forgot someone's birthday. If I had remembered, I would have called you.
Emotional damage.
Exactly. Now, I want to ask something important. Why do we use this structure? Because English needs a way to talk about unreal past, alternative reality, what-if situations.
So it's like creating a parallel universe.
Yes, that's beautiful. Grammar is imagination. Now, let's move slowly to mixed conditionals. This is where many learners get confused. Mixed conditional structure, if plus had plus past participle, would plus base form. Example, if I had studied medicine, I would be a doctor now.
Wait, that result is present.
Exactly. Past cause, present result. You didn't study medicine in the past. Now, in the present, you are not a doctor.
Ah, that makes sense.
So this structure connects past decisions with present reality. Another example, if I had saved money, I would be traveling now.
You didn't save money before, so now you're not traveling.
Exactly. That's mixed conditional. Now, let's clarify something important. Third conditional is past to past. Mixed conditional is past to present. That's the key difference.
So time changes in the second part.
Yes, and this is why this topic is B1, B2 level, because you must understand time relationships clearly. Let's practice together. I'll say a situation. You create a sentence in your mind. Situation. You didn't exercise last year. Now you feel unhealthy. Sentence. If I had exercised more, I would feel healthier now.
Perfect mixed conditional.
Exactly. Now, before we continue deeper, I want you to relax. You don't need to memorize long formulas. Just remember, past regret equals would have. Past decision affecting present equals would.
Simple rules are better than long grammar books.
Always. All right, now let's go deeper. Because B1 and B2 learners usually understand the idea, but they mix the tenses.
Yes, the logic is clear. The grammar becomes messy.
Exactly. So let's clean it up slowly. First common mistake. If I had studied, I would pass the exam.
Sounds almost correct.
But it's wrong, because would pass is present or future. If both parts are about the past, we need, if I had studied, I would have passed the exam. Past to past.
So if the result is also past, we use would have plus past participle.
Exactly. Now, second mistake. If I studied harder, I would have passed.
That sounds strange.
Yes, because studied alone is simple past. But third conditional needs if I had studied. We must use had plus past participle in the if clause.
Now let's practice naturally. Imagine this conversation.
Why didn't you get the job?
If I had prepared more, I would have answered better.
Good. Now imagine, why aren't you living abroad now?
If I had accepted the offer, I would live in Canada now.
Perfect mixed conditional. Notice, accepted, past. Would live, present result. Now let's talk about emotional use. Because this structure is very emotional, it often expresses regret, blame, relief, reflection, dreams.
Dreams?
Yes. Listen, if I had followed my passion, I would be happier now. That's not just grammar, that's life.
That's powerful.
Exactly. Now let's compare 3 sentences carefully. 1. If I study hard, I will pass.
2. If I studied hard, I would pass.
3. If I had studied hard, I would have passed.
3 different realities.
Yes. Number 1, real future possibility. Number 2, unreal present. Number 3, unreal past. This is why conditionals are about time logic. Now let's practice transformation. I'll give you a situation. You think about which structure to use. Situation. You missed your flight yesterday. Correct sentence. If I had left earlier, I would have caught the flight.
Good. Now, you chose not to learn coding years ago. Now you don't have a tech job. Sentence. If I had learned coding, I would work in tech now.
That's mixed. Exactly. Now let's talk about something important. In spoken English, native speakers don't always say full formal versions. They shorten. If I'd studied, I would have passed.
That sounds very natural.
Yes. I'd equals I had. Would have equals would have. For fluency, practice listening to these contractions. Now I want to address a fear. Some learners avoid this structure. They think it's too advanced.
Yes, they just avoid it completely.
But avoiding it keeps your English limited because this structure is everywhere. Movies, interviews, daily conversation, advice, storytelling. For example, you would have loved that concert if you had come.
Very common sentence.
Exactly. Now let's do deeper comparison. Third conditional. If plus had plus past participle. would have plus past participle, both past.
Mixed conditional, if plus had plus past participle, would plus base form, past cause plus present result.
So, always check what time is the result. Yes, ask yourself, is the result in the past or is it affecting now? That question solves everything. Let's try a slightly more complex example. If I had listened to my parents, I would be more disciplined now.
That feels very real.
Yes, past decision, present personality. This is why this structure is useful for storytelling. Now imagine motivational speaking. If you had believed in yourself earlier, you would be more confident today.
That sounds inspiring.
Exactly. That's why advanced speakers use this structure naturally. Before we move to part 3, I want you to try something. Pause this episode after this part. Write 3 sentences. 1 regret about the past, 1 decision past affecting your present, 1 imaginary situation about school or work. Practice actively. Passive listening is not enough.
Grammar grows when you use it.
All right, now we're going to make this real. No more just formulas, no more just structure. Now we're going to use had plus past participle and would plus base form in real conversation, the way people actually speak.
Because grammar only becomes powerful when it feels natural.
Exactly. So let's imagine real-life situations. Scenario 1. You and I are talking about career choices. Do you ever think about different paths you could have taken?
All the time. If I had chosen a different major in university, I would probably work in a completely different field now.
That's a perfect mixed conditional. Past choice, present reality.
Yes, I didn't choose that major, and now I'm not in that field.
Let me try. If I had moved abroad after graduation, I would be living in another country right now.
That sounds exciting.
But it didn't happen, so this structure helps us talk about life decisions without confusion. Now let's imagine regret. If I had practiced public speaking earlier, I would have felt more confident during my first presentation.
Notice that's third conditional, because both events are in the past.
Exactly. I didn't practice, I wasn't confident. Past to past. Now let's change the emotional tone. Imagine relief.
Okay,
If we had left 5 minutes later, we would have missed the train.
that's interesting because here you're grateful.
Yes, third conditional is not only regret. Sometimes it's relief. Now I want to mix storytelling with grammar. Let's tell a short story.
I'm ready.
Imagine a student named Daniel. He wanted to become a doctor, but he didn't study hard in high school. Now he works in a different profession. We can say, if Daniel had studied harder, he would have passed the medical entrance exam.
Past to past.
But we can also say, if Daniel had studied harder, he would be a doctor today.
Past to present.
Exactly. 2 sentences, same past event, different result time. That's the difference between third and mixed conditionals. Now let's do conversation practice. I'll start a sentence, you continue. If I had woken up earlier,
I would have arrived on time.
good. Now another one. If I had saved more money,
I would travel more now.
perfect. You see the time shift? Saved, past, travel, present ability. Now let's go deeper. Why do B1 learners struggle with this?
Because they focus too much on memorizing structure instead of understanding time.
Exactly. Time relationship is everything. You must ask, when did the cause happen? When is the result happening? That question solves confusion. Let's compare 3 similar sentences. Number 1, if I had called her, she would have answered. Number 2, if I had called her, she would answer. Number 3, if I called her, she would answer.
Number 3 is second conditional.
Yes, unreal present. Number 1 is third conditional, past to past. Number 2 is mixed, past to present habit or result.
So even small changes change the meaning completely.
Exactly. Now let's talk about pronunciation again. In fast English, people say, if I'd known, I would have helped. Not, if I had known, I would have helped.
Yes, that sounds too formal.
Practice contractions. I'd, you'd, he'd, would've, could've, should've. This makes your English sound natural. Now imagine emotional self-reflection. If I had believed in myself more, I would be more confident now.
That's powerful.
Because grammar expresses identity. It connects past and present psychologically. That's why this structure feels deep. Let's do something more advanced. Sometimes we can reverse the order. I would be more confident now if I had believed in myself.
Oh yes, we don't always need to start with if.
Exactly. Both are correct. Meaning doesn't change. Now let's imagine workplace conversation. Why didn't the project succeed? Employee. If we had communicated better, the results would have been stronger.
That's very professional language.
Yes. And mixed version. If we had communicated better, the team would feel more motivated now.
Past action, present team mood.
Exactly. Now, I want you to notice something. This structure is common in job interviews, relationship talks, apologies, motivational speeches, storytelling, and movies. For example, you would have understood if you had listened.
That sounds like movie dialogue.
Yes. So, mastering this makes your English more expressive. Before we move to the final part, let's do a mini challenge. I'll give you 3 situations, form sentences mentally. Situation 1. You didn't exercise last year. Now you feel tired easily. Correct sentence? If I had exercised regularly, I would have had more energy. Or mixed. If I had exercised regularly, I would feel stronger now.
Situation 2. You didn't accept a job offer abroad. If I had accepted that offer, I would live in another country now. Situation 3. You forgot to back up your files. If I had backed up my files, I wouldn't have lost my work.
That's very realistic. Now, let's bring everything together clearly. We've talked about structure, we've talked about mistakes, we've practiced conversations. Now, this final part is about confidence. Because understanding grammar is one thing, using it naturally is another.
Yes, many learners understand it, but when they speak, they freeze.
Exactly. So let's make this automatic. First, quick, crystal clear summary. Third conditional. If plus had plus past participle. Would have plus past participle. Example, if I had left earlier, I would have caught the train. Both parts are past. The situation is finished. It cannot change.
Jack, mixed conditional. If plus had plus past participle. Would plus base form. Example, if I had left earlier, I would be at the office now. Past action, present result. That's it. 2 simple patterns. When you simplify it like that, it feels manageable.
Because it is manageable. Now let's go deeper into real-life speaking. Imagine you're talking to a friend about health. Friend, why do you feel tired all the time? You, if I had slept earlier, I would feel better today.
That's very natural.
Yes. Now imagine regret about money. If I had invested earlier, I would have earned more. That's past to past. But if I had invested earlier, I would be financially stable now. Past to present. See how small change in second part changes everything?
Now let's talk about emotional nuance. Sometimes this structure is soft. Sometimes it's blame. For example, if you had told me, I would have helped.
That can sound supportive, or it can sound slightly accusing. Tone matters.
Always. Grammar is structure. Tone is emotion. Now, let's practice correction again. I'll say a wrong sentence, you fix it in your mind. Wrong. If I had known about the meeting, I would attend. Pause. Correct. If I had known about the meeting, I would have attended, because the meeting is finished. Now, another one. Wrong. If I had practiced more, I would have been confident now. Correct. If I had practiced more, I would be confident now. Mixed conditional.
I think the key is always checking time.
Yes. Ask yourself, is the result in the past, or is it affecting now? That question solves 90% of mistakes. Now, let's imagine an interview situation. Interviewer, why didn't you complete your degree? You could say, if I had managed my time better, I would have finished it. Or, if I had managed my time better, I would be in a different position now. That sounds mature, reflective.
That sounds advanced.
And that's why this is B1 to B2 level, because it shows complex thinking. Now, I want you to build emotional awareness with this grammar. Think about one mistake, one missed opportunity, one decision that changed your life. Form a sentence. For example, if I had taken more risks, I would be more confident now. Or, if I had spoken up earlier, I would have avoided many problems. This structure allows deep reflection.
Now, something important. You don't always need would. Sometimes we can use could have, might have. Example, if I had tried harder, I could have won. That shows possibility. If I had left earlier, I might have avoided traffic. That shows uncertainty. So, third conditional has variations.
Yes, but today our focus was had plus past participle, would plus base form, would have plus past participle. Keep it simple first. Now let's do final speaking exercise. I'll say a life area, you create a sentence later. Health, career, relationships, money, education. Example for health, if I had exercised more consistently, I would feel stronger now. Career, if I had accepted that job, I would have gained more experience. Relationships, if I had communicated better, things would be different now. Money, if I had saved earlier, I would be more secure now. Education, if I had focused in school, I would have achieved higher grades.
These feel real, not textbook sentences.
Exactly, because grammar must connect to real emotions.
Before we close, let me give you one memory trick. Think of it like this. Had equals past door. Would have equals past result. Would equals present reality. So when you say had, your brain goes back. When you say would, you check where the result is. That's a nice mental shortcut.
Yes, visual thinking helps. Now, final confidence reminder. You don't need perfect grammar to speak. Even native speakers sometimes mix conditionals in fast speech. But understanding this structure makes you sound thoughtful and advanced. And remember, fluency is not speed. Fluency is clarity.
If this episode helped you, make sure you follow the podcast and share it with someone who struggles with conditionals. And try writing 3 sentences in the comments. 1 third conditional, 1 mixed conditional, 1 personal reflection.
Practice makes it natural.
Grammar becomes confidence.
And confidence becomes fluency. Thank you for learning with us. We'll see you in the next episode.